ace of the staff. Let's welcome in Logan Webb. Welcome in Lamont Wade Jr. Honored to have my guest on today, Kyle Harrison. Let's bring a friend of mine in, Pat Burrow. Pat, how are you today?
Bill, I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on with you.
Giants fans, this is Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants, KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
Walker ready. The 1-0 pitch, a swing, and a line drive. Fair. Down the left field line. And that will end the ball game. Deshaun Kersey Jr. with a line shot down that left field line. Stayed fair by plenty. And he gets mobbed by his teammates halfway between first and second. Brooks Lee scores from third. And the Twins, with a 2-run bottom of the 10th, have beaten the Giants 7-6. And what heartbreak as the Giants get swept in this 3-game series.
Welcome into a Sunday edition of the Extra Inning Post-Game Show on a beautiful Sunday here in Northern California. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And the Major League Baseball just does so well when they do a Mother's Day promotion. Of course, they do it with a patch for supporting breast cancer on every jersey. But the players, coaches, all were pink. And boy, they had pink representing all of the mothers out there today, from spikes to wristbands, bats, socks, catching gear, sleeves, elbow pads, batting gloves. It was all out there. Everybody was supporting the day where we honor Mother's Day. Except the San Francisco Giants forgot to get a win for all the Giants mothers out there as they scuffled and got swept in 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins at Target Field. And they fell into a hot team. The Minnesota Twins have now won 8 straight games. That's right. They swept the Orioles 3, and then they came back and swept the Giants in a 6-game homestand. They'll be going down to place the L.A. Angels next. And the San Francisco Giants will be coming home for a 9-game homestand with the hot Diamondbacks coming in on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The Athletics next weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then the Kansas City Royals come in for 3 games. But this game really got off to a good start for the San Francisco Giants. They were up 3-0 through 3.5 innings, 2-run home run by Brooks Lee, and the Giants were cut short. It was 4-2. They come back and score 1. The Twins score 1, and then the Twins score 2, and the Giants ended up chasing them to tie it in the 8th, and it went into extra innings. The Giants score 1 in the top of the 10th, and the Twins come back and score 2 in the bottom of the 10th, and they take the win. And the Giants come home now on a 2-4 whole road trip, and it was just a tough 3-game series. The Giants, before this game on Sunday, they only scored 2 runs. That was on a Matt Chapman home run and an Elliot Ramos home run. Elliot Ramos had a great series, 6 for 8, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. Today he was 2 for 2 with 4 RBIs, and he's been hitting really well. His batting average now up to 278. The Giants had a couple guys that got hot a little bit today. Mike Yastrzemski going 3 for 5, got his average up to 276, but still a couple of them were still scuffling. Willie Adames only went 1 for 13 in a 3-game series. Jung-Hoo Lee got 1 for hit. He was 1 for 11. Lamont Wade Jr. 0 for 9 in this series with 3 punch-outs. And it continues. You know, Wilmer Flores came in to pinch hit, got a walk, and then punched out. He 0 for 7. And they just slump. They're slumping. They need to get some excitement in this lineup. There's no key hits. They hit for Patrick Bailey and pinch hit with bases loaded, and he grounded out. They had opportunities in that 8th inning to score more than one run. They just couldn't put it together, and the Giants end up losing. Now they're 24-17, and like I said, they're 2-4 on this road trip. And Target Field hasn't been good for the San Francisco Giants. They have lost 7 games out of the 9 they've played there, and they've been outscored. Outscored 43-22. That's right. Minnesota is hot at Target Field, and they're playing good baseball right now. They're 21-20 as they again swept the San Francisco Giants. The Giants decided by 2 runs or less They had 25 games like that, and they're 12-13 now. The key hits, the opposition is just putting them down when they have to, and the San Francisco Giants just could not come up with big hits later in the game. We'll find out more. Got a great show lined up today. We can talk about this game and more. Bryce Eldridge, the #1 top prospect. I sat down with him on Friday, and we'll get on and talk to him and talked about what he's doing in Richmond. And then I had to sit down with Joe Nathan. Joe Nathan, of course, was drafted by the San Francisco Giants, got traded to the Minnesota Twins, and he became a Hall of Famer. Just had a great career. 2 good interviews as we continue on Sunday. But I talk Giants fans. Let's talk about what this team needs. What kind of spark do you want to see happen, especially with this 9-game homestand coming up? 415-808-5627. 415-808-KNBR. Let's get some Giants talk going on a beautiful Sunday here in Northern California. Happy Mother's Day to all. We'll continue right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Elliot Ramos now, and Ramos on the first pitch, a fly ball into deep right center field. This is a good ride, heading way back. It is gone! Over the high wall, Elliot Ramos with another home run. Back-to-back days with homers for Ramos. This one a 2-run blast, and the Giants now lead 3-0.
All right, welcome back to an extra inning post-game show on Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all your moms out there. Give them some love today. They've always been in our corner of any situation you're in. You always depend on your mom to have her put her arm around you and say, it's going to be okay, no problem. And today's that kind of day. And boy, Major League Baseball, I keep talking about the pink. I love that pink. I think it's really cool how they do that for Mother's Day, as well as supporting breast cancer, which needs to be addressed more and more in our life. All right, the Giants lose today 7-6 in 10 innings. They get swept by the Minnesota Twins. They come home on a 2-4 road trip. They win 2 out of 3 against the Cubs and get swept by the Twins 3 out of 3. And I think it's time that the Giants, Buster Posey, Bob Melvin, talk about the situations. When you look at this lineup, the 7, 8, 9 hitters, Lamont Wade Jr., 0 for 9 in the series, hitting under 150. That's the first one we got to look at first base. Something's got to be changed at first base. Luis Matos doesn't have that many at-bats yet. He came in 10 for 51. He's hitting a $190. Sam Huff, another backup catcher, hitting 180. Patrick Bailey hitting 180. And then with Fitzgerald out, Brett Wisely's getting an opportunity to play. He's 0 for 9. And then you start looking at Christian Koss. He's 213. This is what the Giants have to address coming home on a 9-game homestand. Encarnacion is in Sacramento. He's on a rehab. He went, I think, 2 for 3 yesterday. I know he hit a double down the right field line. I saw a highlight of that. But something has to get better. Something's got to help this Giants offense. And you're looking at guys that are now 100, 120 at bats. They have to get something going. And the defensive side is fine, but you have to get something on the offensive side. And when you're looking at today, when you're looking at 6, 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, you're looking at 0 for 14. And that just can't happen. That just can't happen. You got to get something at the base of this lineup to support these pitchers, starting pitchers, and eventually getting some more at-bats. 24-17, the Giants now are 12-12 on the road, 12-5 at home, coming home for a 9-game homestand. So we'll see what happens. 808 KNBR, let's talk to him. Got a good full court today on the board. Let's go to Burley in San Jose. Burley, happy Mother's Day. I'm sure you are more or less having a good day, but the Giants didn't. They didn't have a good day any of today's 3 games. How's it going, Burley?
Okay, well, thank you, Bill. 2 specific questions, and I'm the guy that likes to just pick my answers on the air. So I'll give you my 2 questions or concerns. Sure. One is the situation. One is with Joey Bart. Last year, I heard one of your fellow broadcasters say that the management may have, quote unquote, mismanaged Joey's career because he kept bumping back and forth to the minors. Finally, he was out of options and went to Pittsburgh. Yesterday, I heard one of your fellow broadcasters say that Joey is now batting cleanup for the Pirates. And I wanted to get your thoughts. I wanted to get your thoughts. Did the Giants make a mistake, if I could ask quite frankly? And I know the situation with Bailey only batting 180 and Sam Huff not batting under 200. What's the situation there? Could we use Joey? I know we're not going to get him back. Number 2, can you also explain to many of the fans, I don't think a lot of the fans know because it doesn't happen very often, about the situation of where the designated hitter position is taken away and they are there is the pitcher's spot, how that all works in the strategy of the game. If you have somebody batting in that pitcher's position, does the next inning require a pitching change? If you could clarify that for the fans, please, Bill. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Burley, and good 2 points right there. Let's get to Joey Bart first. I think they did, overreact on Joey Bart. That was Farhan Zaidi, as well as Gabe Kapler not giving him many at-bats and not opportunities. Of course, the I-80 back and forth for AAA and back, I think they overstated on what he could do, and they got rid of him. They put him on waivers. The Pirates picked him up, and he is doing exactly what we thought he would be doing in a Giants uniform, playing very well in the catching position with the Pirates, hitting .285, as Burley said, hitting fourth. And I think that was just an overachievement. I think what happened is they gave up on him. They tried to change his batting stance. They tried to change his mental approach to the game. And I didn't think they gave him enough opportunities. I remember a Friday night he went 2 for 3. The next day I was all gung-ho waiting for Joey Bart to be in the lineup. He didn't play until Monday. And there was just opportunities there where he could cashed in and played more regularly. They really went after Patrick Bailey. Of course, Patrick Bailey, a switch hitter, good defensive catcher, but his batting average is definitely down this year. He scuffled last year. And I think right now what we're looking at, Burley and the Giants fans, we're looking at Joey Bart, that catcher that we were trying to have move up in the ladder, move up through the ranks of the minor leagues, and be that prolific catcher that we always wanted. Don't get me wrong, Patrick Bailey's a good catcher. The batting average is down, under 200. The opportunities are there for him, and it's just not happening. 19 hits in 105 at-bats. That is not good progress when you're looking at a switch hitter, especially with some of his bats will look like he frails at the bat. He doesn't swing hard sometimes. Came up to bat today, hit a ground ball to shortstop with bases loaded. Things like that are making it look like Patrick Bailey's just not a good hitter. He's got to adjust. He's got to make some different bat swings going to the ball, a little bit better at bats. Sometimes I say frails, looks like he only swings one-handed. But we got to do something here. And the Giants just don't have that backup catcher. They picked up Sam Huff. He was on waivers through the Texas Rangers. They picked him up. They thought the young kid could do it. Defensive-wise, I think he's a good backup catcher. Offensive-wise, I just don't think he's got the knack to be a good big league hitter. 2 points right there, I think, Burley, you're looking at. Now, the DH role today, once the DH is put into play, and that's what they did, they pinch hit for the DH today. And what ended up happening was Jung-Hoo Lee ended up going into center field. And the DH was a presentable player to play, and that was going to be VR. And VR went to first base, so the pitcher had to be in that position. Anytime you move the DH and put him in the game, the DH now is a position where the pitcher has to be put into. That's what they got stuck in today because they were juggling a lot of pinch hitters in that eighth inning with Flores, Bailey, and then eventually VR came in to play first base. So it wasn't really a mix or switch. It was just how they proceeded to use the DH, and the DH ended up being put into play. So that's kind of what you're asking, Burley, and that's what happens when you end up putting a pitcher into a pinch hit situation, and then the DH is taken out and the pitcher gets put in there. It didn't hurt them because they ended up using VR to pinch hit for that pitcher in the 10th inning. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. Let's go to Santa Rosa and talk to John. John, you're on with Bill Laskey on the Extra Inning postgame show. Giants get swept at Target Field. Not a good 3-game series.
Bill, it was terrible. And I know that Bryce Eldridge is not ready to come up, but Lamont Wade has got to go. I mean, that guy is just an automatic out now. He's not hitting, but I don't know what we do at first base because Flores can't play first base. He can't run. I mean, you got any ideas for first base right now?
Well, they have Encarnacion down in AAA playing first base, so that is an option that they may look for. I mean, he hit so well in spring training, then diving for a ball in right field, ended up having surgery on his hand, and he's down there in an IL stint, so he's going to get some at-bats. He's getting opportunities at first base. I don't know what they're going to do with Lamont Wade Jr. I mean, they've given him well over 100 at-bats, and he doesn't even have 20 hits, so he keeps coming up in certain situations. He came up again again today, and he struck out when there was first and third, and that was an opportunity for him to drive a run in, and he punched out. There is so many situations he's come up, John, and you know it as well as all Giants fans, and he just has not produced. And I think they have to look at this, and it can't just be, we'll give him another 100 at-bats, because, as I said, when you look at 6, 7, 8, 9, there is just nothing down there that you can look at that can advance a runner, get a key hit. And today it was just that same number when I'm looking at, 0 for 15 when you look at hitters from 6, 7, 8, 9, and something's got to be addressed there.
Yeah, Bill, it seems like this roster is starting to really show some of its true colors. I mean, we got a lot of holes that I just don't know what we do right now. No
John, before when they were winning, you could get away with some of this. But now as they're falling back and the first 2 games here, they only scored 2 runs on 2 home runs. And you're looking back, they had 4 hits yesterday. You look back at Friday, they only had 3 hits. And you got to get some productivity out of some of these hitters, and they're just not doing it.
No, it's kind of shades of last year, which I don't really want to see. Brings back memories, which are not good.
No, so, and they've been playing good baseball. They've been playing real good baseball, winning 2 out of 3 in Chicago, going in against the Cubs. I thought for sure this would have been another win in a 2 out of 3 series against the Twins. And the Twins are playing good baseball right now. They've won 8 straight, and they ran into a couple good pitchers. Today they got to their ace, Pablo Lopez. They got 4 runs off of him. He hasn't given up more than 2 runs in 8 starts. So they got to the starter, but then Eric Miller scuffled coming in, and I think that's what was really the cause of this loss. Eric Miller couldn't get anybody out with 4 hitters.
Well, hopefully we can correct it. We got, 9-game homestand now?
Big homestand, and you got to look at 12-5 homestand, get back here. But you got 3 teams that are playing pretty well. The Diamondbacks, the Athletics, and the Royals all playing good baseball, and they're going to have to do something. Verlander on the hill tomorrow. It'll be a Monday night 6:45 game. Robbie Ray on Tuesday, and then Jordan Hicks on Wednesday in the afternoon game. And when you're looking at Verlander and Ray, these 2 guys have been pitched really well the last couple, probably 3 or 4 starts in a row.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Yep, appreciate your call, John. And, I think what everybody's seeing here now is what we're looking at in the offensive side, the offensive numbers. You can hide batting averages when you're scoring runs. You can hide batting averages when certain players are getting hot. And I looked at this, and I look at this lineup in my scorecard, and it's just pathetic when you look at 6, 7, 8, 9. 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 4, 0 for 4. Not one of them got a hit. Not one of these guys, even as a pinch hitter, got a hit. That's when you look at this scorecard and go, something's got to happen. Some changes have to happen here, and it's got to be better. It has to be better, because you cannot continue to play when the bottom of the order in your lineup is not producing anything except strikeouts. A couple walks here and there, that's not going to help you. You need to get guys that get hot. You need to get guys that put the ball in play. And today was a good sign that something's got to happen coming home here, and they're going to have to think about this and figure out what they can do. Let's go to Peter in San Jose. Peter, on the extra inning post-game show with Bill Laskey on the Sunday. How are you today?
Good, Bill. How you doing? Happy Mother's Day to you, everybody, your family, moms and sisters and aunts and everybody.
Yeah, Peter, I can't hear you. You're going to have to call me back. You're getting a lot of static. Let's go to Don in San Francisco. Don, you're on Extra Innings with Bill Laskey. What's going on, buddy?
How are you doing today, Bill?
Well, I'm looking at this lineup, and I think everybody's seeing exactly what I'm saying. You look at 6, 7, 8, 9 today, and opportunities where they could have cashed in on a couple key hits, an RBI here and there, and you can't do much of it when they're 0 for 15.
I got about 3 comments to talk to you about. Mm-hmm. I've been here the Giants for many years. When they start off good and they collapse, and during the half of the season, I've been following them for many years, Bill. The Giants. Yeah,
I don't think it's collapse. I just think the offense is sputtering a little bit. They got through it, winning a lot of close games. When you look at what they've done down here, 2 runs or less, they've been winning. They were 12-12 in 24 games. So you're looking at 24 games with 2 runs or less. And this is how they're competing on good pitching and good defense. But something's got to get going on the offensive side. You cannot continue to do this with these batting averages the way they are. There has to be some kind of switch. There's got to be something that Buster Posey and the Cavalry can figure out.
You're absolutely right. But I just hope when the trade of the deadline comes, I think they should need another first baseman and another good reliever. And I think about 2 players away from.
Yeah, you got a ways to go, though, Don. You got till almost July. That they can't sink the ship here in May, and they have a 9-game homestand. And this is going to be some opponents that are playing good baseball. They have to come home and get revitalized and get some hits and get some runs and get Justin Verlander a win. And Robbie Ray's been pitching great. But these games are 2 runs or less. This has got to stop. They got to open these games up. Today they did. And the one time Eric Miller scuffled, he couldn't get anybody out 4 hitters.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bill. You take care.
Yep, thanks, Don. I appreciate your call on a Sunday. All right, we're going to take a quick break here and come back with more on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. We got about 4 or 5 callers on hold. Don't go anywhere. We got to take a quick break, and I'll be right back here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
From the mound to the mic, this is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him by saying to your smart speaker, play KNBR.
On the ground up the middle into center field, base hit. Adames with that arm of Buxton. Somebody else out there maybe turns hard and thinks about going to third. He'll stop at second. Chapman has his second hit.
His first ever off of Griffin Jacks right there. We said he was due, and he's seen him a lot right there. Good old-fashioned ground ball up the middle. Keep the train rolling.
All right, back on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show on a beautiful Sunday here in Northern California. Happy Mother's Day to all Giants moms out there and all baseball moms. Boy, we always cherish moms taking us to baseball games and practice, and I always thank my mom to have that clean uniform for the next game. That was always there for my mom to pick it up and have it clean when I came home from school, and my uniform was clean, ready to roll, and I'm sure a lot of baseball players out there did the same. Giants today lose a tough one. They lost in 10 innings, 7-6. I want to just look at Elliot Ramos, who's really played the wall, playing defense very well, and today he had 2 diving catches, the old Superman catches, where he lays out and catches it before it hits the ground, and 2 beautiful catches. And his series, 3 games, 6 for 8, 2 home runs, and 5 RBIs, got a walk and a hit by pitch today. Just playing very, very good defense now. You saw a lot of it from Elliot Ramos over the past years. I had a nice conversation with Randy Wynn. He thought his jumps were better, going to the spots where the balls were. And I have to say, today, one of the better 2 catches I've ever seen Elliot Ramos make in left field. It was just sad. You know, I keep talking about this offense. You look at what the top of the order did, the first 5 hitters, and they did everything they could to get a win for the Giants. And then 6 through 9, 0 for 16. And you just got to have some kind of production from these hitters down in the order. 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 for 0 for 0 for. Somebody's got to come through. Something has to happen. We're looking at Jannar Encarnacion. Of course, he can't come up till May 21st, which will be Wednesday of next week because he's on the IL. He had a 60-day IL, so he has time. But he's crushing a ball right now for the Sacramento River Cats. So we'll see what happens here. They have a big homestand coming up. They're 24-17 playing the Diamondbacks, the Athletics, as well as the Royals. All right, let's get back to the phone lines. Let's go to Steve in Albany. Steve, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show on a Sunday. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm fine, Bill. Good to talk to you. I mean, other than the Warriors' meltdown last night and the Giants' 3-game sweep, everything's great.
Well, let's stop right there. We're having a bad weekend here for Bay Area sports. Put it that way, Steve.
So what I wanted to talk about was, I mean, I agree with all your points about the hitting, so we don't need to go more into that. But my point is about I guess it's either the 4th or 5th slot in the starting rotation, and whether or not they should make a change. Coming out of spring training, like the last 2, I assumed that Birdsong was going to be the 5th starter. But you know, we didn't get to see many spring training games on television. So all of a sudden, Roop started getting all kinds of pub from broadcasters and talk show hosts and stuff saying he was the leading contender all of a sudden. So I thought, okay, they must know something I don't. I assumed that Birdsong was kicking butt and would be the 5th starter. All of a sudden he wasn't. So then once the season started, thinking, okay, Roop's pretty good. He's not like he's a bad pitcher. But as the season has gone along, what I've seen from him is partly his lack of high-end velocity. You know, he tends to top out 92, 93, maybe 94, but his fastball isn't heavy. It comes in light. Like some pitchers can throw 94, 95, and it's like a heat-sinking missile, almost like it comes into the catcher's mitt harder than at any point in the journey. It's like it slows down, and it almost always tails into the right-handed batter, and not severely. And if he's slightly off, because it's on the same plane as his curveball, which is like a a 3-9 curveball instead of a 12-6 curveball. Everything's on the same eye level for the
let
hitter.
me just stop you right there, Steve. That fastball is a sinker, so it's supposed to go down and away to a lefty, down and into a right-hander. The only thing that I'm going to throw at you about Landon Roop, when he came out of spring training, he was throwing 4 different pitches. And what he's done here, every time he gets into a jam, he goes to that sinker or curveball. The curveball is a very good pitch. It's not what you're saying 2 to 7, or it's a 12 to 6. But when you get into a scenario of constantly throwing it, the hitters are going to look down in the zone, and that's what happened with that home run ball that Brooks Lee hit today. It was a 1-0 curveball down in the zone. You can throw it as many times you want. Once it's down in the zone, he's going to smoke it. I don't think that ball was down in the zone. I think that was right over the plate when I'm thinking about the reaction of how it was hit. And sometimes he gets in these jams, and that's exactly what he does. Now, today he threw 9 cutters, 4 changeups. These were the pitches that he was working on in spring training. But he's number 1 in Major League Baseball in soft contact. That means balls aren't hit hard off of him. And that's what Giants fans got to look at here. What he gives up, the home run today for sure, but in the Chicago Cubs series, how many balls the balls broke batters' bats or end of the bat hits? I can't really go against Landon Roop as you are, because Landon Roop is going out there giving him 5-6 innings. The numbers aren't exceeding like we thought he could do. Today, he had a nice 3-0 lead, gave up the home run to make it 3-2, battles through it, comes out of the game 4-3 after 5 innings. He's not walking hitters. That's one thing that we love about these guys battling, but he's not getting that big out when he needs it. And I think that's what we're looking at when you look at the numbers after a game. The situation when it comes to rise, he's not getting that out. And I think that's one thing that, as an analyst that I'm watching for, he has to get better at that.
Would you say that he seldom goes up high in the strike zone, it seems like.
He doesn't have that cross-seam fastball. That's the reason. That's why that cutter might work, but he doesn't throw the cutter enough. The crossing fastball, you're seeing Logan Webb throw it more because you want to elevate the fastball. You want to get the eyesight of the hitter to change.
Yeah, exactly.
Up high, down low, up high, down low, out in, out. Those are the things that pitching's all about, is changing the eyesight of the hitter as well as off speed, and I think that's where that curveball really helps. I mean, when you're looking at his game, first 3 innings, he only gave up 1 hit, and that was in a 9th hitter. He was establishing good contact, 34 pitches, 23 for strikes. They get the lead 3-0, and he hangs a curveball to Brooks Lee. And that's where the downfall came. Then he's already in the stretch position. 29 pitches he threw in the 5th inning before they took him out. And those are the innings that he has been fading in those middle innings when they come up the 2nd, the 3rd time is really when he gets hurt.
So would you say then, based on the fact that he seems to be having problems the 2nd or 3rd time through the lineup, if we look at somebody like Harrison, who seems to have totally changed his
high velocity
stuff.
Now, sure,
high velocity with that great curveball. I mean, to me, the stuff, it's way different, and I'm wondering, maybe we give Harrison a shot.
I think the first guy coming out of the bullpen will be Hayden Birdsong, and Birdsong has 4 really good pitches. He got out of a jam today. The first pitch he throws, Larnach hits a double, and he keeps him there. And this is what I like about him. He battles. When the guy gets on base, he's got a different look at him. He doesn't have a problem throwing that slider out of the zone, the slow curveball, and the elevated fastball like you're talking about. Hayden Birdsong can get those, and he ended up getting a strikeout on Ryan Jeffers on a beautiful slider to end that inning on the outside corner. So there is an opportunity that if they're going to switch, I would think Birdsong before Harrison. But again, these guys switch back and forth. I don't think they're going to do anything right now with Landon Roop. And Jordan Hicks, everybody's against Jordan Hicks. This guy's throwing 100 to 101 miles an hour.
He's got the best stuff on the team, I think.
He does when you think
Jordan
about
Hicks.
it. Sure does, Steve. But I think we got to really circle about the offense and figure out what they can do a little bit better on the offensive side. The pitching side's pretty damn good. When you look at the bullpen coming in today, they had the best lowest earned run average at a 2.42 earned run average, the best in Major League Baseball. So I don't think it's going to be pitching. The pitching, I think, is pretty solid. I think they got to do something on the offensive side. But thanks for the call, Steve. I appreciate your time today. Let's go to San Francisco and talk to Dave. Dave, you're on an extra inning postgame show on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, except the Giants got swept at Target Field.
That's for sure. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing good. Just a little disappointed on the offense here when they went to Minnesota. Right. They had an opportunity to bring a lot of momentum from that Cubs series in, and they just didn't hit well. There was nothing there in the first two games.
It was borderline unwatchable in terms of offense. I agree with you. Hey, which I'm bringing up yesterday on the Fox broadcast, and I had not heard this from any of our broadcasters on KNBR or NBC Sports. They pointed out that the analytics are showing that Bailey's bat speed this year is much slower than it was last year and the year before. You know, kind of how like a pitcher, they realize he's lost a few miles off the fastball. I've heard no mention of this, and that could be part of why he's just slower through the zone, apparently, in terms of, how they track
David,
that.
they're right. They're right, David. Some of the bat, some of the swings he has, it seems like the top hand comes off the bat and he just swings with his bottom hand, and they're weak ground balls. I've said that numerous times. The swing path, there's just no fire on his bat. He doesn't have a home run yet. And you're looking at his numbers, 19 for 102 with only 12 RBIs. That is nothing like we saw in the first half last year. He was on fire last year. Balls were jumping off his bat, and I'm going to agree with him. I haven't seen that this year.
Yeah, Bill, that's just obviously someone's been tracking it. They must have gotten it from someone in the Giants. It was Tom Verducci and the play-by-play guy.
I saw that same thing.
They cited the numbers that Bailey is much, and I'm like, well, why aren't the Giants trying to address this?
I don't know. I think that's one hitter that the Giants need in this order to start hitting the ball. I kept saying Wade and Bailey are so important in this lineup, and they're fading. They're not getting better. They're hitting the ball better, but they're getting outs. I've said that many times about Lamont Wade Jr. Better at bats. He line drive, line out, and then the next day he strikes out 2 times. Ups and downs,
or he just lamely pops it up to left. He lamely pops it out to left field, or Bailey hits these weak ground balls. But Bailey's not that good a hitter to begin with. So if he's already slowing down that direction, that velocity, he's going to be in big trouble. I didn't understand, Bill, today when they pinch hit Flores from Matos, that automatically put them in a bind because they ended up walking Flores, and that means you're either going to face Huff or they're going to pinch hit Bailey.
Right.
And bingo, that was the end of the inning right there. I would have let Matos come up first and third, 2 out. Maybe if he gets on base, then you bring up Flores to pinch hit with the bases loaded.
Yeah, I think he went righty against lefty at that time. And if you remember this, Bailey had a 3-0 count on him. He was 3-0 in that count. He watches strike 1, and then he swings. The ball was right down the middle of the plate, and he swung and didn't even come close to it. And on the radio side as well as on TV side, I think I heard Hunter and FP go, how can you miss that pitch? It's a 3-1 pitch, bases loaded. This is a pitch you want to drive. This is the ball you got to make contact on, and he swung right through it. That's what I'm saying. Something's got to happen here. Something's got to get better.
I would have rather taken my chances with a right-handed hitting Matos than a left-handed hitting Bailey against the righty. That's my point.
Flores came up. Yeah, Flores came up for Matos, as you're absolutely right. They walk him, and then of course you got to go Bailey for Sam Huff at that position. But the swing pass on a 3-0 to 3-2, and then he grounds out weakly to shortstop. There's something that has to change here. Either his bat's left-handed all the time, he's switch hitting, and there's just no hard contact coming off his bat. You're absolutely right, David.
And what about when it was second and third, 2 outs in the 10th inning? It was 6-6, and they had a lefty up against a Walker. Did they have another lefty coming up? Because I was kind of wondering maybe why they didn't.
Oh, Minnesota did? Yeah, Kersey ended up getting that base hit down the left field line. I tell you, the hit that Brooks Lee got, that ball wasn't even a strike that he hit down the left field line, the first hitter he faced. That was an unbelievable hit because it was a good 2 inches off the plate, but it was up, and all he did was frail it and hit it right down the left field line. I said, wow, that's an aggressive swing just to put the ball in play.
But I was thinking, I wasn't sure if they had another lefty coming up because I would have maybe walked the left-hander to load the bases and pitch to the next guy if it was going to be a
well,
right-hander.
you had Harrison Bader coming up. That was the ninth hitter.
Oh, so they
coming
did
in.
have a right-hander.
They did have a right-hander coming up. Yeah, you're
I
absolutely
know
right.
he can
Bader
be dangerous, but I might have taken my chances with the righty. And oh well.
And load him up.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
It's a good thing. And yesterday I brought up on a post-game show in the ninth inning when Koss got the bunt base hit, why they didn't bunt Yastrzemski. Because then you had the middle of the order coming up, and they ended up having Yastrzemski swing, and he ended up getting to a 1-6-3 double play, knocked him right out of the ninth inning. There's some, damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of things, and I think that's what happens when you start losing, especially when you're losing tight games as they are. You start not second-guessing Bob Melvin, but you start saying, well, my concern could have been this way, but they went that way, and it didn't work out. So, you know what? They're still 24-17 coming home for a 9-game homestand, and let's hope this offense wakes up. But thanks for the call, David. Good stuff again. Let's go to Pacheco and talk to Dino. Dino, you're on the Extra Inning post-game show. How are you?
Bill, I'm great. How are you?
Just a little disappointed in the offense. I've been talking about this for weekend after weekend. They're winning, no question, 24-17.
Right.
But I think there's some concerns here on a couple players.
You know what, Bill? I talked to you the other day about that. I turned you on to what I thought was, we all thought was the most greatest offensive statistics and all that.
Scoring home.
Then my mind changed. then my mind changed when crossing the plate more than anybody else in history. That was kind of like the most important statistic that hit me at age almost 50. I mean, it was like, wow, that's more glamorous than, because Hank Aaron and guys like that were my heroes when I was growing up, because the home run was all glamorous. But anyway, besides that, the reason I called, Bill, is I've had a busy day, so I didn't listen to the game or nothing like that, but I listened to you on the way home. And Bill, and I've listened to you so much all the time, and for the last 2 years, at least, since, it's like everybody's afraid to, I'm just proud of you, Bill. You've been there, done that, I guess, as far as a player and everything else, and you've been a host for a long time, but you don't dance around, man. I love it. You're not scared. You're not scared, to speak your mind.
I appreciate that, Dino. And, the thing is,
real.
Dino, that's exactly right. Be real. Talk about what's good, talk about what's bad, and talk about concerns.
That's
because
right.
I'm not gonna sit here and dive into Bob Melvin, his decisions, or Buster Posey on why he's not getting better. I'm diving in on the 26-man roster that's out there competing every day. And like I said earlier, the pitching, I can't even waver on. The pitching has been fantastic. I threw that number out, the best bullpen earned run average in baseball starting today with a 2.42 earned run average. And then you look at the starting pitching, you're looking at Robbie Ray or Justin Verlander, Logan Webb. But I got to talk, Dino, about this offense. And this offense is sputtering. It's getting worse than better.
I don't want to interrupt you, Bill, but you're right. All that, you're exactly right. But the thing, like I said, the reason why I called is people like us. I don't call it old school. I'm a 67-year-old former, very blessed athlete. We don't like it when hosts are scared. You can tell when somebody's scared or to question. To question these coaches, to question the move, to question something, and I dug it. I was driving home and I just dug your thing about when you talked about Joey Bart, and then they might have made a mistake on. They might have made a mistake on him. And you didn't dance around on it, man. And you didn't question. It was like everybody else is afraid to question Bo Mel and this guy or that guy. Or
right.
Whoever.
The other thing too, Dino. And I'm going to throw something else out here. Joey Bart. When he came up, I was doing some things for the Giants. I was hosting a couple different events. And there was a day when I met Joey Bart. And for some odd reason, we started talking. And he was very good friends with Madison Bumgarner. And Madison and I had our good friendship when he was up here. We talked aside. He wouldn't go on interviews, but I could talk to him. And we started talking, and Joey Bart started telling me Madison Bumgarner's a good friend. They're from Georgia, blah, blah, blah. So he and I got to know each other. And I was very, very disappointed how they treated him. I was very disappointed as how much they didn't get him to catch consistently. They kept pulling him up. Every time he got hot, they would pull him back. Every time he started going, they'd take him to AAA. And I felt bad for him. I really did. And it was to a point of, why are you doing this to this kid? This kid wants to play. He's so eager to play. I'm happy for him what he's doing in Pittsburgh. He's showing what we thought he was going to be, and he's showing it now to Major League Baseball. And he's a damn good catcher. And the Giants gave up on him, and this is what they have now.
You're absolutely right, Bill. And I just want to end this by saying, that's just one subject of I just love how you tell the truth, Bill. I mean, us old, us real school. I don't even like to call it old school. Us real schoolers.
Yeah. Dino, I thank you for the call today.
We can tell when somebody's scared. We can tell when a host don't want to badmouth somebody and afraid for his job.
Yeah, and Dino, I appreciate you saying that, and I've been doing that on Extra Inning Post-Game Show. I've been doing it on Sports Phone KNBR. It's really just observing what I'm watching and talking about it. And I think that's what more hosts need to do. More hosts need to just open their mouth and say, I don't agree to this. I'm not downgrading any move the Giants are doing. I'm a Giants lover. I love the game. I love this team. I love talking about the team. But at certain times when you have to talk about it and you can't be scared to say this is what I don't like, then you shouldn't be a host for talk radio.
Keep it up, brother. You're the best, Bill.
Thanks, Dino. I appreciate your call. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with more. This is the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. My name's Bill Laskey. We'll have more coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Georgie Brothers Furniture Showroom is a full-service home furnishing store located at 211 Baden Avenue in South San Francisco and has been in business for 92 years. It is one of the Bay Area's best-kept secrets. Still operated by the third-generation Georgie family, their goal is to offer expert and personal service as well as white-glove in-home delivery. Georgie Brothers also features a Simmons Beauty Rest mattress gallery. Get a great night's sleep at an amazing price. Come visit our 50,000-square-foot showroom, which is full of beautiful quality furniture pieces. You can also visit them at GIORGIBROS.com.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
Roop throws, and there's a line drive to left. Ramos over towards the line, into a dive, and he caught it. What a play, Elliot Ramos. Takes an extra base hit away from Ryan Jeffers. Ramos doing it all here. A home run in the top of the inning, and one of his best defensive plays of the season here in the bottom half.
Back on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show on a Sunday. Happy Mother's Day out there to all the good moms. Hopefully you are having a nice lunch or dinner with them, bringing them flowers and candy and loving them for everything they do for all of us. And it's just a good day, and I love what Major League Baseball does by all the players and coaches wearing pink. Boy, they had a lot of pink out there today in Target Field. Spikes, wristbands, bats, socks, catching gear. I think that's pretty cool. Sleeves, even elbow pads. It was pretty cool. Players love it, and I think it's a great, great thing that Major League Baseball does. Hey, coming up down the road here on this last Sunday, as we get going through the Extra Inning Post-Game Show, a couple great interviews coming up. Bryce Eldridge, the #1 prospect who is playing in Richmond, sat down with him on Friday and had a great conversation with him on a lot of things that he's learning for this season and some of the things that he's adjusting to in AA. And then I talked to my good friend Joe Nathan, of course, had a great career with the Minnesota Twins, started out with the San Francisco Giants, and at one time one of the best premier relievers. He's in the Hall of Fame with the Minnesota Twins. That's coming up down the road. We got more calls coming in, and we're going to keep it rolling here on the Extra Inning Post Game Show. Let's go out to Sacramento, talk to my buddy Scarecrow. Scarecrow, how are you on a Sunday?
Just kind of sitting back enjoying the ball game. How you doing, Bill?
Well, just frustrated. I think a lot of fans are saying the same thing I'm doing. They went into Minnesota with a nice adrenaline rush when they took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs, and the spark plug offense just didn't do anything, only scoring 2 runs Friday and Saturday. Today, Eric Miller was the guy out of the bullpen. The bullpen has been lights out. He just couldn't get anybody out, and he really pitched well in Chicago.
Well, I'm wondering how, at what point there's going to be a move made, because ostensibly the 7th and 8th and 9th hitter in that lineup, there's just a giant hole there. And that's going to be really tough for them to compete. Point being, I'm real patient with Lamont Wade. I have no idea what he's doing. Bailey seems to be having nothing but problems, but at least you've got Bailey's defense to deal with. I was really frustrated by the end of the game. I was never a big fan of the phantom runner, ghost runner, call them whatever you want.
I'm right there with you.
And I felt like the Giants were victimized by a 2-bit gimmick. There are a lot of things that you could do to fix baseball. I can think of the challenge system for balls and strikes, all manner of stuff. But
more replay too. I think it should be, Scarecrow, maybe in the 8th and 9th inning you can replay anything, but they just stop doing replay on certain things, hit by pitch, or I love what they're doing with the automated ball and strike. I want to see that come into big leagues.
There's nothing wrong with it. I've seen it at Sacramento where it takes maybe 15 seconds to figure it out.
Yeah.
And ostensibly, there's nothing. I mean, literally, there's nobody there except the batter, the pitcher, and the catcher. The managers can't even get involved in it. And what we end up with is this, Rob Manfred's little gimmick. To fix the problem.
Well, how about Adrian Johnson yesterday? 22 missed pitches. 22. That has to be changed. That has to get better. 22 missed pitches from a home plate umpire.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a game here right now. I'm old enough to remember when baseball was #1 or #2 with football, okay? As far as fans wanting to watch. It's a distant #3 behind basketball. And one of the reasons why is you look at that, you look at the strike zone and flip a coin as to what the umpire is ever going to call. There is absolutely no consistency whatsoever. And when Baldelli has a problem and Melvin has a problem, I'm sorry, it's the umpiring crew. They couldn't find their rear end with both hands and a compass.
And Scarecrow, this is something they're looking at. This is something they're looking into. They did it in spring training. It worked. That's when I first saw it at the big leagues. I liked it. You give 2 chances. So what? Give them 2 opportunities. And just like you said, less than 15 seconds to look at the board. It's a ball. It's a strike. Give them another at bat. Give them another pitch. And I liked it. And I hope they look into it a little bit more and fix it, because I think when they start looking at some of these scorecards from these umpires, it's not getting better. The younger umpires seem like it's getting better, but the older umpires are missing more than a dozen pitches.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the individual. Never mind. It doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is, if Manfred wants to improve baseball, then that's the first place he's going to have to go. If a few umpires get a few hurt feelings, geez, sorry, so bad. Too bad.
I agree. And, going back to the phantom guy in second base, when that first came out, I didn't mind it, but it didn't have to be the 10th inning. It should be like the 12th or 13th inning. Give these guys a chance to try to get a run across in the 10th and 11th. Make it a little more baseball-ish, like the old-time baseball. Make that 10th and 11th inning be an extra inning where you get a guy on, bunt him over, and try to get him in. All of a sudden now the guy's at second base, and you get 1 ball, ground ball, he's at third, a pop-up gets him in. To me, that's just giving the team a shadow runner.
Yeah, there is no point to it. And at what point do you keep making these little changes and it stops being baseball and becomes something else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, let's see what the Giants are going to do when they come home. I'm with you. The bottom of the order has to change somehow, some way. It's got to get better. These guys are falling backwards instead of forward. You're giving them opportunities, just like what you said with Wade and Bailey. I've been trying to bail these guys out weekend after weekend. Sure, it's only the middle of May, but there has to be some kind of advance here to see something better in some of these swing paths.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of nice that we're actually sort of complaining about play on the field as opposed to a certain former head of baseball operations who used to have to do.
So we're talking baseball now, Scarecrow. That's something new we haven't talked about in the past few years. The revolving door is kind of closed now, and let's see what this 26-man roster can do. Bring them home, and let's see what this 9-game homestand is going to come to fashion here, and hopefully they'll start playing a little better baseball, and some offense can start bringing these Giants some runs and get this pitching staff some wins. But thanks for the call, Scarecrow. Enjoy the rest of this Sunday. Let's go out to Stockton and talk to Dwayne. Dwayne, you're on an extra inning post-game show. How's it going today?
Hey, how you feeling, Bill?
Well, I thought they would play better in Minnesota. I'm just a little concerned in the offense. I'm not really concerned about the pitching. I think the pitching did really well in Minnesota. Eric Miller pitched so well in Chicago in that late inning game, got out of a jam. Today, he didn't get the low pitch, and it cost him a walk, and then he gave up 3 hits. And the next thing you know, Duvall's coming in there, and he really shut it down. He really got a nice job, did a great job. But that was the inning I thought the game got away.
Yeah, I think all these kind of bad feelings right now are coming off a sweep because I think it's coming from a good place. I think everybody just hates to watch this team lose.
Right.
But I think everybody needs to chill a little bit because we ran into a Minnesota team on a heater. Mm-hmm. This team now, they have won 5 in a row. We're going into their place on a weekend series. Things like that happen in a 162-game season.
And you know what, Dwayne? They took 2 out of 3. They took 2 out of 3 from Boston in Boston. Then they came home and swept the Orioles. So their pitching has been fantastic. Their starting pitching today, they faced Pablo Lopez, their ace. He hasn't given up more than 2 runs in any of his starts. Today they pushed him for 4. But the one inning that I'm talking about when Eric Miller came in and gave up a couple of runs, that I thought changed the momentum of that game.
Yeah, they're that team right now that's winning games. They're finding ways to win games. That's where they are now. So I don't think we should just trip too hard.
This concern. Let's talk about concerns, Dwayne. I think that is.
Let's talk about the lineup then. We could holler about the lineup because I know that's everybody's main concern. And I think everybody's right. I think when Fitzgerald gets back, we're missing him a lot now. When he gets back, that's going to help. But we never have been able to go get the big bopper, man. We don't have a Soto. We don't have a Goldschmidt. We don't have a Judge. We don't have one of those guys.
And I don't think, Dwayne, you can bank on Encarnacion being that type of hitter. He's a good hitter. He's been around the minor leagues. He was in Mexico. He's a top-notch hitter when he hits the ball. But, he's got a lot of swing path that he misses, too. He's got a nice strikeout ratio also.
Yeah, so we don't have that guy. Look, I think you're right. We can't bank on that. We can't bank on that. We have to see production before we can even talk about that. And I think my last point, I want to know what you think. I think Doval is our best closer.
Yeah.
I think he's our guy. He's got the best stuff. He throws over 100. I want to know what you think about that because lately the skipper has been playing him, mid, 7, 6, 7, 8. But I think he's our best closer.
Yeah, he's been bopping them back and forth, Ryan Walker as well as Duvall. Duvall's been just lights out, and probably in the last 12 outings, he has just been coming in throwing pellets. And today he gets out of a bases loaded, no outs, and he only gives up one run. And I thought that was a big, big move for Duvall. I would like to have seen him maybe in a couple of games. There was one game where they took him out only throwing 7 pitches. I would have liked to have seen him gone out. That was when Tyler Rogers gave up a couple runs in the 8th. Tyler Rogers today was spot on, goes in 1 inning, punches out 3. I mean, you got good setup guys. I just wonder if Bob Melvin's going to make that switch with Ryan Walker now being a setup guy and Duvall being a closer, because when you're looking at it, you got a guy that's throwing sinkers and sliders, and that's Ryan Walker, and you look at Duvall, and he's throwing 101 with a slider that's nasty. You just don't know which way Bob Melvin's thinking here in the closing position.
Yeah. So there's always going to be some adjustments. We got to be looking for that. But I think we're going to be okay. I still think we're going to be okay. I like to stay ahead of the game, man. So I'm really thinking about the trade deadline. So it's going to be real interesting because we're going to be buyers.
Yeah.
So I want to see what Buster's regime can get done then.
Yeah, we just don't want to sink the ship, though.
I got to get back, Bill. I got to sell mattress, man. I got to get back to work, man. But I'm glad I got a chance to talk to you again, Bill, and I'm going to talk to you again probably next weekend. Is that cool?
Dwayne, thanks again. Thanks for the call, my friend. Have a good rest of the Sunday. But, going off of what Dwayne's saying, the ship can't sink on what we have. We got to stop the hole, and I think the offense needs to get better. And coming into this next series, when you're looking at the D-backs, Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt, and Eduardo Rodriguez will be your starters. And we know the Giants can't hit lefties. They have trouble hitting left-handed pitching, but that'll be the Wednesday afternoon game. When you look at Merrill Kelly, 3-2 with a 4.09, Justin Verlander, who's just been outstanding his last 3 outings, and Robbie Ray, 8 starts. They've won all 8 games, and he's 5-0. So let's see what they do coming home. They got 2 6:45 games on Monday and Tuesday, and then the afternoon game will be at 12:45. All right, let's go to Andrea in Berkeley. Andrea, how are you doing on a Sunday? Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Same to you and yours. And happy full moon soon, too. We have a full Buddha moon tomorrow.
Good.
And I think it
Light
should
up the sky, Andrea.
Yes. And I think it should bring several things to light. Full moons have that illuminating quality, kind of a cosmic wake-up call. And in terms of the Giants' offense, I remember seeing some sort of information, some stat about when they score 4 runs or more, they end up winning 80% of the games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really need, I'm old-timey. I mean, they maybe play some small ball.
That's a good one.
Yeah, just like shift things, make things a little different. Scorpio full moon is a time of transformation. Mm-hmm. So, bring things to light.
We need to do something different, Andrea. This offense, it fell backwards in the Minnesota series by getting swept, only getting up 2 runs in 2 games. And, you had the pitcher on Friday, Paddock, going 17 straight before Chapman hit the home run. And then yesterday, Joe Ryan. There was so many things where he went 5 in a row, 8 in a row, 5 in a row. There was just no exciting points at both those games on the offensive side. And today, they battled. They got ahead 3-0. The home run ball that Roop gave up, they still had the lead. They added on. They just couldn't get that closing point in the middle of the game, and that's where the Twins scored 5 runs in the 4th, 5th, and 6th inning, and it kind of pushed the Giants into backward mode.
Yes, I think that point is well taken. And tomorrow they got Verlander, so wouldn't it be nice if that Saturn mantra, delay not denial, he finally gets a win, but he's been kind of stuck in that Saturn rut, pitching well, but can't win for losing, so we're going to put out some good energy on the full moon for Verlander.
Let's hope so. I'm all for that, Andrea. They got a 3-game losing streak, and they got to come home and turn it around, and now they're playing the National League West, Arizona Diamondbacks, who's right behind them, and we'll see where all that prevails. But you have a rest of a good day on a Sunday. Like I said, all mothers out there, it's your special day, Andrea, and I appreciate the call.
Yes, may the baseball gods and goddesses bless, and look forward to your interview with Bryce Eldridge. October 20th, 2004 is his birth date.
Excellent. All right, Andrea, thanks for the warm-up. I appreciate it. Now I don't have to talk about Bryce Eldridge, but he is coming up next. Andrea giving me a birth date for Bryce Eldridge, but I sat down with Bryce, and we talked about spring training. We talked about his year last year where he went through the minor leagues, played everywhere. And if you remember, 2 years ago, he was playing high school baseball. And I think we want to push him so far and so fast, but we got to understand he's 20 years old, and he's got to learn a position of playing first base. He's got to learn about hitting, and he's in Richmond playing for the Flying Squirrels. That's going to come up next right here. Bryce Eldridge and me sit down, and we talk baseball, and we talk about the life of Bryce Eldridge. That's right next, right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. My guest today is currently playing for the Richmond Flying Squirrels. He's the number one prospect for the San Francisco Giants and a friend of the show. Let's bring in Bryce Eldridge. Bryce, how are you today?
Doing good. I appreciate you guys having me on again.
Yeah, I appreciate your time too, Bryce. And you're back in Richmond. You've been there for a couple of weeks. Tell me how it's going.
Going good. Just, getting back into the swing of things, quite literally, after the injury. Been feeling good and just glad, to be back playing affiliate ball, being with my guys, and, continuing to get better every day out here.
Well, an hour and a half away, you grew up in Fairfax, Virginia. It's pretty cool to be back home if you had time to go back there. Have you had any chance to go back and see Mom?
Yes, sir. First off day, I was able to get over there, and I'm in Harrisburg now, so I was able to come up from Northern Virginia where I live with my mom here, and I'm going to go back home after this road trip, and I think I'm going to keep making that a little tradition on the off days. But definitely amazing being so close. The Giants, all of our affiliates are on the West Coast, so it's a long ways away except for Richmond, so it's pretty nice.
So when you go back home cooking, what is one meal that you love your mom to make for you?
That's a good question. I think it's pretty basic, but just some beef pasta. That's just her typical go-to whenever, usually when I'm home, she's trying to help me gain weight. So a lot of beef and pasta.
Well, let's go back in 2024. I mean, a year where you were going a little bit everywhere. San Jose, Eugene, Richmond, Sacramento. You ended up going to fall ball. If you had to look back at 2024, how would you assess your play, and how would you assess how you felt at the end of the year?
It was amazing. It was definitely, more than what I expected could have happened. Even for myself, I set high expectations, and my initial goal was making it to Double-A, and even then, it seemed kind of far out of reach. But as the season went on, the more confident I got, and the more I realized it could be possible. And obviously, we accomplished a few more things than that. But definitely, by the end of the year, definitely into the fall league, I was a little bit tired. Your first year out of high school, a lot of games, more games than I played throughout, the last 4 or 5 years previous, for sure. But yeah, I mean, the fall league was a great experience as well. And, I kept doing my thing everywhere I went, and I was healthy through it all, which is most important.
That voice you hear on the Extra Inning Postgame Show is Bryce Eldridge. Bryce, when you got home, how much time did you take off before you started hitting the weight room?
I took about, let's say 3 weeks, maybe. That sounds about right. A little bit less than a month. Went on a couple trips with my mom to try and kick back and relax a little bit and, celebrate a good year. But, yeah, not too much time. I was in there, kind of a quick turnaround, and, that's the job. So, can't spend too much time, sitting around and, traveling. So got back to it slightly quicker.
So Buster Posey takes over for the president of baseball operations. How long did it take for him to get a hold of you to kind of talk about your progress of last year and going into spring training at the big league level?
Yeah, so I mean, I met him for the first time in big league camp, and it was super cool. Obviously, growing up watching him play, and I think everyone within the organization is super excited about him, running the ship now. And obviously, as you see, he's doing a great job so far. And the big league team, the big league Giants are looking amazing, and that just speaks volumes of the leadership that he provides and the leadership he brings. And yeah, it was cool getting to meet him back in spring. I haven't seen him since, but just looking forward to keep earning my way into an environment where I get to spend more time with him and talk more baseball with him.
So you go into spring training, big league camp, you walk in the doors and you see Bob Melvin, you see all your hitting coaches from Pat Burrell, Damon Minor, and it's a whole different experience for you. How many days did it take you to kind of relax when you went away from the ballpark and said, man, I'm in big league camp. I just got out of high school a couple of years ago, and how excited were you to be there every day?
It was awesome. Every night it was like I was having trouble sleeping, just getting ready for the next day. It was cool. It was an unbelievable experience. I'm just super thankful I got the opportunity to be a part of it and be able to be in the same clubhouse on the same field with those guys and just be able to learn from them and learn from all the coaching staff, including Bo Mel and Pat and Tiny Minor. Those are my guys, and I'm just very thankful for that experience. It was definitely surreal.
When you went into spring training, a couple things you had to work on. Of course, you had to work on playing first base, learning first base, understanding first base. What were some of the things that you got to know, what you had to adjust to, and to play first base every day is a whole different thought pattern. Tell me your thoughts about playing first base.
Yeah. So we did a lot of work at camp. We did a lot of work with Ron Wotus and with Matt Williams and those guys, and obviously JT Snow came in, and we were just getting after it every day. And biggest thing is just improving my footwork. I'm a tall guy, and they kept repeating this. I'm 6'7", but I got to play like I'm 5'10". I got to stay on my legs, and that's just leads to success. Staying in the legs, having good footwork, just makes your glove hand better, makes your glove work better. So just biggest thing there was just continuing to hammer my footwork, get me better there. And I definitely made serious strides there on defense, and I'm just continuing to get better there.
Now at Richmond, you're doing probably, some practice time doing it. You're probably working on footwork, as you said, bunt plays, bunt defenses, where you're going on cut relays. These are all things that you're learning as you're playing first base. Is there one thing that you're saying to yourself, I got to get better at?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, like you said, I'm still working on just, being the best vacuum I can be, and that's I got to work on gloves, balls down the line and balls in the hole. Just open up my range a little bit, and just continuing to be the best I can on picks. The infielders, I want them to love their first baseman. So I just got to be able to pick every ball, and I've been doing a good job so far this year. But there's always room to improve there.
One of the biggest things, Bryce, being 6'7", you had the advantage of the reach. Of course, the ball's over your head, how tall you are, the width of your arms on the length of it, and then moving your feet at the base. You talked about your footwork. Is this something else that you're working on by moving your feet left and right and knowing where the ball's going to the infield so you can adjust to the throws?
Yeah, I think one of the first things I learned last year when Will Clark came in was being able to be adjustable on the bag with the throws, and that's been big for me. I used to stride out and get stuck in no man's land, and like the balls, they're always running, they're always tailing, they're doing whatever the infielders are doing, and I kind of would get stuck out there, and it wouldn't look pretty whenever I was striding out. But just being able to trust that I can stride out as late as possible, and I think that's been big for me, standing on the bag.
Bryce, also playing first base to throw to second base on a double play, or even when a pick comes over to you, learning to step forward in front of the runner and making that throw. Of course, by being right-handed, you got to be a little quicker with that throw. Something else you're probably working on too.
Oh yeah, no, I think a lot of these guys, they actually like my height advantage there because I get to step out. I only got to take one big step out, and I'm already, clearing that runner in the base pass. So that's definitely a perk of being tall on those pickoff plays.
Bryce Eldridge on the Extra Inning postgame show for a few more minutes. Let's go on the offensive side. You've been in Richmond for a couple of weeks now. Have the scouting reports kind of refined where they're throwing you now? Is it a little more difficult on some of the pitches, especially on the opposition when they're trying to get you out?
Yeah, it's been tough. They're definitely pitching a little bit different. A lot of junk, which I wasn't seeing, 100% of the time last year, which it feels like I am now. It's always going to be like that. People are always going to be changing how they pitch me, but I just got to keep adjusting and keep getting used to it, and it'll only make me better. So definitely getting pitched a little bit differently this year, but we can always make adjustments.
Well, Bryce, Randy Wynn, the Vice President of Player Development, said in an article, Bryce Eldridge, big, strong, powerful, with a short swing to the ball. When you hear that, what does that compliment tell you?
That's just everything I work for, It's very easy. I see a lot of guys my size, they have a long swing and creates a lot of swing and miss. And, I just have taken pride in keeping it short and being able to try and hit for not just power, but, contact. I try and hit for average, and I think that's what separates me from some of these other guys is being able to, hit singles and doubles, but also get it over the fence. So, I think this short swing is just something I've kind of been really working on my whole life, and it's only going to keep getting better from here.
Bryce, as we finish up, the facets of the game, from hitting to fielding, base running, they're all a compliment to your game. Everything that they talk about Bryce Eldridge, every facet of the game, they want you to improve on. Something you're thinking about every day, something you're working on every day?
Here, can you say that again? There's people screaming out here in the lobby.
No problem. I said, when you look at your game, and it's all facets of the game, from hitting, fielding, base running, these are all things that make you a big leaguer. How do you work on each thing every day and put your time into it?
Yeah, I think just being able to take advantage of the early work times we have for everything. Anywhere we go, we have early work hitting. We got early work defense, and we do base running just about every day in batting practice. So I think just taking advantage of that and, not, giving in and, saying, oh, I'll focus on just this one today. Just focusing on everyone, because you're not going to be a big leaguer if you can just hit, unless, obviously you're David Ortiz or whoever that may be. It's not a handful of people that can say that they just hit in the MLB their whole career. So I think just focusing in on my routines and every one of them and base running and fielding. Most importantly right now, I've been feeling comfortable hitting, just continuing to get better on defense and base running is going to be key for me. And that's just going to continue to separate me from everyone else.
So Bryce, did you grow the beard back for the summer, or are you clean shaven?
It's back right now. It's definitely back. I don't know. A few guys on the team got a mustache right now, so I might switch it up here soon, but we'll see how it goes. Well,
it was a pleasure to have you back on the show. Good luck, my friend, and thanks for your time today.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate it.
That was Bryce Eldridge on the Extra Inning postgame show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
Bill is back.
Fired up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
The 2-1. Lee swings, lines it out into right center, in into his right Castro. Now he has to leap up. He makes the catch. Tagging at third, though, Yastrzemski heading home, and he'll score easily. Castro's throw late and in on several bounces. And for the Giants, their second sacrifice fly of the day. They take advantage of the balk and get one of those runs back. It's 4-2.
Back on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show on a beautiful Sunday here in Northern California. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and hopefully you're enjoying it with them. A good day just to put your arm around them and thank them for everything they've done for you. And today is that day, and Major League Baseball did that, of course, honoring the moms and of course breast cancer awareness with a patch on all the uniforms. And of course the coaches and the players wore pink today, from everything you could imagine, from pink spikes, pink catching gear, armbands, pink sleeves. It was pretty cool. That's what I really love, how they do it on Mother's Day, and Major League Baseball does that very well. Today, the Giants just lost a tough one. They went into Minnesota, winning 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, and had a day off, and the Minnesota Twins had won 5 straight. And they had just swept the Orioles 3 games on a 6-game homestand, and it didn't turn out well. The Giants only scored 2 runs in Friday and Saturday and lost both those games. And today they had an advantage in this game with the lead, and they gave up the lead in the 6th inning. They ended up tying it in the 8th, getting a run in the 10th, but the Minnesota Twins ended up getting 2 in the bottom of the 10th to win the game 7-6. The Giants come home on a 2-4 road trip, taking 2 out of 3 from the Cubs and then getting swept by the Minnesota Twins. When you look at what the Giants do at Target Field, they haven't been really well there. They've lost 7 out of their last 9 games there. On the road now, they're 12-12 overall. They're 12-5 coming home with a nice record, and they have a 9-game homestand, 3 against the Diamondbacks at off day Thursday, 3 more games next weekend against the Athletics, and then the Kansas City Royals come in for 3. So a 9-game homestand coming up. Let's take a peek at what the Giants are going to throw out there tomorrow, 6:45 first pitch right here on KNBR. Justin Verlander on the hill. He's 0-2 with a 4.5 earned run average. He's gone 42 innings, 40 hits, 21 earned runs, 35 strikeouts, 15 walks. But if you look at his last 3 outings against the Cubs, he went 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs. Colorado, 6 1/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. And Texas, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. And he still doesn't have a win, Giants fans. We got to get Justin Verlander a win. He's pitched very good in the 8 starts he's had. Going against Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly's always been tough against the Giants. He's 3-2 with a 4.09 earned run average, going 44 innings, 34 hits. He's given up 20 earned runs already also. So tomorrow will be a good cast to see what the Giants can do against a tough Arizona Diamondback team. On Tuesday, the hottest pitcher for the San Francisco Giants will be throwing. That's Robbie Ray. He's 5-0 with a 2.8 earned run average, 44 1/3 innings, 46 strikeouts, 23 walks. But this is what's good about that. The Giants have won all 8 starts that Robbie Ray has thrown, and he's kept the Giants in every game 1 or 2 runs, no runs. He's just been outstanding so far for the San Francisco Giants, and he's going against one of the tough pitchers that have been thrown well for the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's Brandon Pfaadt. He's 6-2 with a 3.2 earned run average. He shut out the Dodgers. He went 6 1/3, only giving up 4 hits in his last win. Philadelphia, he went 4 2/3 innings, gave up 6 runs against the Phillies, 2 home runs. And then he pitched against Atlanta and pitched very well, going 6 innings, only giving up 2 earned runs. He's given up 7 home runs so far. That's a big number that the Giants have got to jump on him. Hasn't been walking too many hitters, 41 strikeouts, only 10 walks, but he's 6-2. The Arizona Diamondbacks played very well behind him. And then Wednesday's a day game, 12:45 start. Jordan Hicks takes the hill, 1-4 with a 5.8 earned run average. He's been pitching very consistent the last few starts against Eduardo Rodriguez, and this is a guy they got to do some damage with. He's 1-3 with a 6.86 earned run average. All right, sit back. I sit down with Joe Nathan, and you look at what Joe Nathan's done in his career. 6-time All-Star, Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame, 64-34, 2.8 earned run average. Those are just some great numbers on a career of 16 seasons. 377 saves. And one number that really jumps out at you, for save percentages, 89.3%. He was going to get a save when he went out there. Really, really a tough guy. Sit back. We're having a great conversation with Joe Nathan about his career, where it started, where it jumped from. And as he ended with 16 seasons, you'll hear an emotional answer at the end of the interview. All right, that's coming up next right here on the Extra Inning Post Game Show. I'm Bill Laskey. Sit back. Joe Nathan coming up next right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. I'm honored to have a guest on the show today. 6-time All-Star. He was also inducted into the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame in 2019. He played 16 seasons as a pitcher in Major League Baseball, 7 with the Minnesota Twins, and 5 right here at the San Francisco Giants. Let's welcome in a friend of the show, Joe Nathan. Joe, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Oh, Joe, it's been great talking baseball with you in the past years, and I think this year we're getting close to the draft in June, and a lot of kids in high school and college are anticipating getting drafted. I really want to just kind of ask you, when you were growing up, what made you fall in love with the game of baseball?
I think, well, first and foremost, starts with my family, my parents for sure, and then, extended family from there. I think, anytime there was a family gathering, there was some kind of sporting event going on, some type of competition we'd get going, whether it's throwing the baseball around or volleyball or softball or whatever, you name it, we're trying to do something. The wiffle ball was always a big game for us too. So, I think the love of sports and competition starts there, and then just as you get a little bit older, you find out what interests you have and what you want to go forward into school athletics and stuff like that from there.
What are the biggest things players do now? They just play baseball 12 months a year. Back in our day, and I'm a little older than you are, we played multiple sports. You played basketball. You even ran track. What was it that an athlete back in our day, we just loved playing multiple sports?
I'm still a big believer in that aspect of it. I think the more sports you play, the more athletic you can become. I understand the specialization and guys thinking they need to work on their craft for 12 months a year, but I'm big on balancing the body out, kind of working both sides of it. It tends to go one-sided when you do one sport all the time. If you're right-handed bat, right-handed thrower, you're probably rotating one way. So outside of getting in the gym and working the other side in there's really no other way to do it. And that's why I was a big fan of playing other sports, whether it's basketball, soccer, running track, stuff like that. That was just something to keep the body, keep the full body going.
Joe, physicality is a huge part of all the sports, but it's also understanding your teammates, understanding your coaches, understanding a different sport, the mental side of the game. How does that strengthen your mind to play every different sport that you've done?
Well, we know, especially the game of baseball. I mean, it's probably 90% of the game between the ears, and if there's confidence, you're going to have a better chance of succeeding out there. I think individually, I mean, some people may say, listen, because I work on my craft 12 months a year, I have that confidence, and that's great. I think for a lot of us, it was just learning about ourselves and our athleticism and doing different things and finding out what we can and can't do. And that's kind of what helped me personally was, not just knowing what you're good at, but also knowing some of your weaknesses and knowing to try to avoid those at all costs. So, for me, the confidence of what I did throughout my childhood going into my career, I think that all helps. That's just stepping stones that build to when you get to your ultimate goal, and hopefully you can go out there with the best mindset and the confidence to go out and have some success against other guys that have really worked at their craft and worked to get there as well. So when you get to that highest level, and whatever it is, whether it's collegiate or at the pro level, whatever you get to, whatever your highest level is, it's knowing you can go out and compete against those guys.
That voice you hear is Joe Nathan on the Extra Inning postgame show. 976 strikeouts, 377 saves, a 2.87 earned run average when he retired. You started out in a very small high school, Pine Bush High School in New York. You played, like we said, basketball, track, baseball. Was there any thoughts at that time that, hey, you know, I want to go into professional baseball? Because there wasn't that many scouts back then watching. They were, you know, tending to see how you were going to play. You were a shortstop as well as a pitcher. Did you have any thoughts of that?
Back in high school, no chance at all. I was, you know, not very highly touted at the high school level. I didn't pitch at all, so it was really just playing infield. I was a smaller kid at the time. I grew my senior year, got taller, but still was very skinny. I think I was about 150 pounds when I graduated high school, and that was at a 6'2", 6'3" frame. So still had to fill into my body and figure out the weight room a bit. So, you know, in high school, really it was going to school for the academic side and finding a place that would fit me there. And, you know, from there, fortunately, one of my high school coaches was roommates with the coach who is still the coach at Stony Brook. And Matt Sank, and they had a good relationship, and they thought that it might be a good fit for me to go there, and you know, fortunately it was. I always say we kind of grew together. Stony Brook and myself kind of fit the mold perfect for us, and you know, like I said, we were both able to grow as a university, and for myself as a student, as a person, and as a player.
Well, Joe, in 1995, you got drafted by the San Francisco Giants, but was what exceeded your levels at that time, you were having scouts come and watch you, and the day when you were supposed to pitch, it got rained out. You had to go and do a side session and throw in front of, I don't know how many, maybe a dozen or more scouts. How nervous was that for you? And then on the other side is all these guys are just hawking you on just a side session. Well, give me your thoughts on what went through that time.
Yeah, it was a strange season in that, you know, just because I didn't pitch too often at all during the season, and you know, I know Coach Sank took a lot of criticism for that, but you know, at the time I was you know, number 3 or number 4 hitter for him, playing shortstop every day, so you know, it was hard for him to find those spots just to throw me out there when it was more important for me to be at the shortstop position for him. So you know, that day, unfortunately, Mother Nature took over, and you know, it was a strange day, to be honest. Like, nerves weren't too bad, just because of the weather. You know, it was such a miserable day, and I know the scouts, you know, I'm sure it was tough for them to get out there and you know, just watch one kid throw on the mound, you know, and throw a few pitches. So, you know, kind of a tough day for everybody. So, you know, I just tried to go out there, be loose, and you know, let as many pitches as I can go at the time, in that type of weather with limited really innings on the bump, you know. So, but you know, we managed to get through it, and I think we you know, we showed them enough to, you know, at least have some interest. I know they've worked hard to kind of follow us around too. So we had eyes on our team and myself throughout the season, but it was nice to get a chance to throw in front of them.
Joe, the career you had for 16 seasons were just one of the best. But I love bringing back the foundation of how you got there. And I think this is what I'm trying to gravitate today to, is the foundation of how many different things that you had to jump through and get that opportunity. You get drafted by the San Francisco Giants. You go to A-ball. And you really, at that time, didn't want to pitch. You wanted to play shortstop. You wanted to hit. And it backfired. It really didn't work out for you. And at the end of the year, you more or less just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to go back to college. I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to think about if I want to play pro ball. How hard was that for you as, a young kid coming out of a small high school and college in New York?
Yeah, I mean, it was a challenge. It was a tough decision. People ask me now, do I regret that? And honestly, I still truly believe it was that year that I took off that allowed me to springboard into the pitching side of it, as well as I did. At the time when they were wanting me to switch over, really, I was just not on board with it. I believed that I still could play infield and hit at the major league level. It was always one of those things, like every first year of every level I would struggle, and then I would come out and get comfortable and figure it out and slow the game down. My first year in high school was a little worse than every other year. My first year in Little League was worse than every other year. My first year in college, I think I probably I only had about 30 at bats. I think I was 8 for 30 my first year, and then got comfortable and took off from there. So it was one of those things where I had a really good spring too. I had a good spring training. I was playing a little bit of short, moving over to third quite a bit in spring training, and just starting to figure it out. I was slowing the game down, starting to hit well. I think I hit 3-something that spring, and it was right at the end of spring when it was probably the timing of that too, that I thought I was going to go into my first full season in the minor leagues and really see what I could do, and really kind of hone in on, all right, I could either do this or, it may be a little bit of a struggle at the position level. So I was looking forward to that. And then the timing of them saying, we want you to pitch, stay back here in extended spring training and pitch. It just didn't seem like the right thing to do. I asked them if I could get one more season, playing position. They made a decision. They really wanted me to start pitching, and so I slept on it and just came back and said, listen, it doesn't seem right now. So I'm going to, I guess, temporarily retire and went back to school and got my degree. And like I said, I think it allowed me to clear my head. It allowed me to go do some odd jobs. I've worked at a golf course. I went and did kind of like cold calling, stockbroking for a week with a buddy of mine. It allowed me to go out and kind of experiment and see what was out there. And it definitely cleared my mind that I wanted to come back and try pitching for sure.
That voice you hear on Extra Inning Postgame Show, Joe Nathan, a 6-time Major League All-Star, as we reminisce on how baseball started for you. You go back and you start pitching. The development of learning how to pitch, the development of starting. In 1998, you go back to the Giants in San Jose, 22 games, 3.32 earned run average, 118 strikeouts. You end up being the champions. You guys won the California League. Yeah. It was starting to be fun for you a little bit. You're starting to understand pitching more. You're starting to understand what you have to do. Were you starter at that time, or were you a bullpen guy?
I came up, so my first year was short season in '97 with the Salem Kaiser Volcanoes. It was their inaugural season, and I started out of the bullpen there, and then actually moved to the rotation and actually qualified to I think I came in second in the area title that year, but I just qualified with innings because I started in the pen. So, getting that transition in that short season to starting, at least kind of gave me the comfort to go into the full season with San Jose and kind of have an idea of what I need to do, not just during my start days, but in between and getting ready, especially in the minor leagues back then. I mean, you're talking about nutrition, and you're lucky if you had jelly on your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So nutrition was definitely a little bit different back then. So you really, really had to take care of yourself, in unique and different ways back then. Gyms were few and far between to find, and a lot of the conditioning and cardio would be, body weight and running and stuff like that. So just trying to figure myself out, make sure I feel well. And fortunately back then I was a young man, so I was able to bounce back, relatively quickly. And yeah, we had a great year. We had a really good team. We were an older team for a single A ball club, and we went out and were able to win a championship, which was awesome. It was a lot of fun for sure.
Joe Nathan on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show for a few more minutes. In 1999, you end up going to Shreveport, but on April 21st, 1999, you get your first start in the major leagues. 7 shutout innings against the Miami Marlins, I do believe, at that time. And it was, you pitched really well. I looked up the names on the roster here who you went up against: Luis Castillo, Alex Gonzalez, Mark Kotze, Derek Lee, Todd Outworthy, I think his name is, Preston Wilson. Some names that the Florida Marlins had on that team. And this is your first start. Nerves, anxiety, what were some of your thoughts as you went out on that big league mound?
Yes and yes. I remember being called up, and I knew it was quick. I knew I was still raw at learning how to pitch. I knew. Listen, at the time it was probably, let me reach back, throw it as hard as I can, and I threw a power curveball, and then I had kind of a show me changeup. So still very new at it. I know going into that start I was nervous. I remember they said you're not going to be able to come to the ballpark until the day of, and then fortunately they gave me a call and said, hey, listen, never mind, you could come to the game the night before. And I remember just breathing a sigh of relief, because I can get a lot of firsts out of the way, a lot of first time driving to the ballpark, first time walking in through the gates somewhere I don't know. Maybe I'm going to get lost. Who knows? So getting a lot of those first, walking into the clubhouse, being in awe. Obviously, a bunch of the guys from spring training, but it's a lot different when you're in a regular season. So walking in there and finding your locker, getting your locker situated, and then ultimately going out and watching a big league ball game and soaking in that environment and that atmosphere, and then came to the park that next day, and it's start day, and obviously a lot of jitters. I remember warming up. Ron Peronowski had to almost slow me down a bit, because I had to been throwing mid-90s in the bullpen. He was like, dude, you gotta pace yourself a little bit. We got a long road ahead of us. So just kind of controlling that. I remember being on the mound in the first inning, my legs were literally shaking, and it was a first hitter. I was fortunate enough to strike out Castillo, and then I got 2 comebackers in the first inning, and that really settled me into that start. Right after I got those 2 comebackers, was able to flip it over to first and get some PFPs out of the way. It was almost like it just calmed me down, and the rest of the start was just so much fun.
Joe, when you think back, the foundation, as I'm talking about through this whole interview, the foundation of how it started, where it began. And now as we finish 16 years, 64-34 your record, 377 saves. You're in the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame. Now you've reached the finish line. You look back at all the years that you pitched, all the injuries, all the arm surgeries you had, and all the time that you spent believing in what you believed in, believing that you could get to the finish line with just an utmost finish. And you did. 7 years with the Twins, 5 with the Giants, 2 with the Rangers. When you look back in that mirror, what do you see? What is your feelings?
Oh, man. Summarize it. I mean, it's so much of, I want to say the belief has got to be inside of you that no matter what is thrown at you, and this is good or bad because success can also sway you the wrong way. I'm saying whatever gets thrown at you, good or bad, the belief that you can turn something around and you could get back to where you need to be. And in the sport of baseball, you're gonna fail. It's a sport of imperfection. So, for me, the fact that I think I took that imperfection and knowing there was going to be bumps along the way, sometimes mountains to climb, with injuries, especially that I've had, being able to keep my vision forward and knowing there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel through the darkness. I think that's what ultimately got me to the finish line, as you say, and that's something that I'm trying to preach with my kids now, and my son playing college ball, and he goes through his little peaks and valleys, and I'm saying, listen, it's a sport of baseball, and there's gonna be a light at the end of the tunnel. You're gonna have some fucks, but it makes those triumphs and successes all the more special when you do have them.
Joe, I want to congratulate you on a great career. I followed your career through the Giants and the Twins, and it was just a great ride, and watching you succeed in all the different levels that you were in, especially when you had arm injuries. And this is what baseball is all about, the love of the game like we started. But I thank you for your time today, Joe.
I appreciate you having me. It was good talking with you.
That was Joe Nathan on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Post-Game Show on a Sunday with Bill Laskey. Happy Mother's Day once again to all the mothers out there today. Enjoy the rest of the day with your mom, as it's beautiful here in Northern California. The Giants got beaten in Minnesota. They got swept by the Twins. They lost today 7-6 in extra innings. They went 2-4 on a road trip. They took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs, and then they lost all 3 in Minnesota. But they'll be back tomorrow, 6:45 first pitch at Oracle Park against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Justin Verlander will be thrown against Merrill Kelly. You can hear that game right here on KNBR. I want to thank my producer, Kyle Haar, for producing the show, Ryan picking up the phone calls, and all you Giants fans for calling in on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show. I'll be on Sports Phone KNBR Thursday night and Friday, and we'll be right back here next weekend against the Athletics. For Bill Laskey, be safe, be well. Have a great rest of the day. Give your mom a hug for me, and there'll be more coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
It's another great outing for the righty on your home of San Francisco Giants baseball. This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.